Hi YouTube. Today's video is going to be about a technique called tapping. This is useful for any kind of a chord type of passage, particularly where if you're worried your fingers aren't making the attack at the same time. So we have to use a forearm rotation to compensate for the different lengths of our fingers. And it's really difficult to explain, but your body understands this, and I can show you how to make this exercise work. This works with anything from parallel thirds, or big chords. I've got an example we'll derive from the Rachmaninoff Second Piano Concerto in a minute, or a Bach fugue. Anytime you're doing chord playing, whether that's a 2-note chord or a big fat 8-note chord with both hands. If you're having trouble keeping all of the notes attacking at the same time, if we're using, this just came to my fingers, so we'll use it, the G minor prelude of Rachmaninoff. If you're playing it more like this, if you're playing it more like that and you're having trouble getting your fingers to attack at the same time, this is the exercise to address that. This is how you do it. So, what you do, we're going to borrow from the first movement of the Rachmaninoff Second Piano Concerto. This is not a piece that I've studied, so you'll see this passage improve right now in real time. I'm familiar with the piece because it's one of my favorite pieces to listen to, but I haven't performed it. Okay, so we're going to deal with the section we're dealing with, and I'll just read a few bars of it briefly to show you. It's the gosh, I don't have numbered bars in here, but it's the really big section when the orchestra is playing the melody, and the piano is playing. Okay, that's the section we're going to use because it's big, fat, hairy chords in every single note, and you have jumps and all these sorts of problems, and it's perfect. And the exercise is this. If we're starting here with the C minor chord, this passage I would play just the thumbs to start. So, something like this. Now notice, I don't know if you can see from here, but I'll show you this direction. When I'm playing with just the thumbs, there's an awful lot of rotation going on. It's not this joint activated, though I'm sure there is at some level movement here. There's more movement here. That keeps me loose and free. Okay, we'll take just that much. Now, next thing you'll do, this is where the tapping comes in. Hold down the thumb and tap everything else twice. You can do, let's do triple taps. You can do as many as you need to. I find triple taps are usually enough. So triple taps, double taps. You could do as many as 6, I suppose, if you're really having a hard time with it. So I'll demonstrate with triple taps on each chord. Okay, or I said I was going to do triple and I did double. Okay, perfectly simple. Do the same thing on the left hand. So again, we're holding down the thumb and we're doing kind of a tethered rotation movement. So we're holding down the thumb and we're tapping this out. The reason this is useful is because with big chords, we tend to get kind of locked up. We have a tendency to do this because we're stressed and attack them like this. And it's much better if we can do it like this, where there's only just that impulse of effort, and the instant it's not needed, it's released. And that's what we're building into our playing. Okay, so we'll do triple taps with the left hand now. So I'll hold the thumb down. Okay, now the opposite of that. So we'll hold down all the other notes and we'll tap the thumb. Okay? Work with that exercise in whatever passage is giving you challenges, whether it's a parallel thirds passage or something from a contrapuntal work where you're having to have different fingers attacking at different times, or something from a romantic work where you've got big fat hairy chords like this. Let's see, you can do it hands together, so we'll hold thumbs down. Kind of a weird symmetrical version of this than the inverse of that, where we're holding down at least fives. Sometimes you can hold down fives, sometimes you'll hold down everything, so you'll hold down fives in this case. Okay, lots of variations you can do on that, but I think you get the idea of how this works, how to execute this. Now, what this does is it programs your brain to be loose and mobile when you're playing chord passages rather than stiff and tense. Because the reason we get kind of I'm having a hard time doing it on purpose. So that is tapping. There are lots of other applications. I'm sure we'll demonstrate. In fact, we've got one more idea. I'll show you real quick. This is, I think, it's a different passage, and I mentioned parallel thirds. This is parallel fourths. This is from the Chopin Etude, Opus 10, number 3. This idea. So this is the middle section. I'm looking at bar 38, since I do have numbered bars. I missed some notes in there, but that section. What you might do if you're working on that is this tapping exercise. So play the lower notes, hold down the lower notes and tap the upper notes 3 times. Then do the opposite. Okay? That programs your brain to adjust for the different lengths of your fingers so that when you go to play it, you don't have... There's the bad example I was looking for. I knew I could find it in Chopin. Something that would be difficult to execute in front of the camera. So this exercise forces you to, one, have your fingering nailed down ahead of time, and it keeps you mobile. I would do that, hold down one voice, tap the other in each hand. So do it all 4 possible varieties, do it hands together, and then put your passage back together. Okay, and what I did just there was inserting gaps on purpose in your pieces. A a lot of the times this is where we get a good solid beginning, a so-so middle, and a really crappy dumpster fire of an ending, is if we only practice, okay, the passage starts here, so this is what I'm going to practice. Oh crap, what do I do? And I sure hope I survive the end of this. You know, that's what happens to us. If you insert gaps and give your brain a moment to think, when something's fresh, that was kind of lousy. If you give yourself a moment to breathe in the middle of your pieces, you'll practice each section as if it's the first thing you've played, so that when you're putting the whole thing together, you can string the whole thing together. Works beautifully. So try this tapping thing out. See how you do with it in your practice sessions. And if you try it out, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. So that's our technique for today. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck with all of your pieces.